friend of show, Ryan Grimm, haha, friend of everyone's favorite shows, Ryan Grimm, made an announcement on Friday, which was half surprising and half not surprising because, almost a year ago at this point was when the railroad strike was getting ready to happen, and that's when Joe Biden called upon Congress to invoke the Railway Labor Act of whatever it was, 1918. I forget exactly what it was. Maybe it was the 20s. And they did, and the squad went along and voted for it. Rashida Tlaib, I believe, was the only one who voted no. Almost the entire squad voted yes. And he had that, now legendary sit down on the Brianna Joy Gray podcast where he and Shama Sawant went toe to toe with Ryan Grimm, somehow claiming that the squad were in the right to vote to break a strike because that's what they railroad workers asked of them. And it just seemed so ridiculous. And Shama ripped into him, rightfully so, over it. And, Ryan Grimm is always one of these guys where I think one of the reasons why people treat him kind of harshly is because they know he knows better, because there was a time when a lot of us admired his work very, very much. He still does good work from time to time, but there's this thing where people notice, hey, you seem to have this just inexplicable soft spot for the squad. It seems like whenever people come out and criticize them and try to radicalize people against the Democratic Party by emphasizing their failures, you come in and say, well, be reasonable. They're doing the best they can. In this case, they responded to labor by voting to break a rail strike, which, according to our interviews with rail workers, was really not true. It made no sense on the face of it. Well, now we find out this Friday, Ryan Grimm has a new book coming out just in time for Christmas, coming out in early December. The title, The Squad. Let's take a look at this brief audio trailer for his book that he put out on Twitter on Friday.
I have a new book coming out this December. This one published by Henry Holt called The Squad, AOC and the Hope of a Political Revolution. It traces the evolution of the left in the United States from 2015, starting with Bernie's first campaign, through the 2022 midterms.
Traces the evolution of the left from people who liked me to people who can't stand me anymore. That's really what it was.
Imagine finding this under the tree on Christmas morning. Ha
Exactly.
It's essentially a sequel to my last one, and you can pre-order it now on all the book platforms, including independent ones. Pre-orders are hugely influential to how a book does on launch. So if you like the last book, please consider pre-ordering.
What was his last book?
The last book was called We've Got People, which was sort of, about the forming populist insurgency within the Democratic Party that ended up not really happening. But at the time, I guess he could be, forgiven for falling for that. Many of us did. But there's the squad. There's the squad. Notice he uses the Shepard Ferry Obama portrait for the cover, too, which is also kind of weird, since aren't they supposed to be the sort of antidote to the sort of neoliberal sort of Obama era that has been dominant in Democratic politics for these past several decades, before the emergence of Obama himself?
If his publishers are paying attention, they know he's lost the real progressive, so they're going for the libs.
Well, yeah, they have to. And the book is available because I couldn't believe it. It's available for pre-order on Amazon right now, $28.99. You can pre-order it. It arrives December 5th, 2023, just in time for Christmas. But it just
be the first kid on your block.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It just never quite made sense. Like, I couldn't put it together why this guy who, he helped break the Tara Reade story after the Democratic primary, when it looked like Biden had the nomination sewn up. Like, he looked like he had some kind of backbone, and it was always this very weird thing where he would always run cover for the squad. And there were a lot of people in this space who saw it way before I did. I mean, I remember Jimmy Dore used to tear into him, and I honestly didn't know where he was coming from. It was
another case where, because he's been right so often, I didn't straight up say, that's fucking crazy, but I was thinking it, to be honest.
I was thinking it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. I'm like, Ryan Grimm's one of the bad ones? Really? But it turns out, and now here, a book, because look, this is a 336-page book. It seems to be completion, either completed or at least near completion now, which means, look, I've never written a book before. I imagine it takes about a year or so to write a book. He must have at least known at the time he was going to be writing the book, right? He may not have started it yet, but he knew a year out he was going to be writing this book.
No, he
you
probably
think that's
got
something
this
you
deal
would
2,
like
3
disclose?
years ago.
Well, yeah, he probably got the deal after the first one, after the We've Got People. So he's probably known about this book for a couple of years. And that could have been something he may have wanted to disclose while he was debating Shama about the Squad. Hey, just so you know, full disclosure, I'm writing a puff piece about them in the form of a 336 hardcover book that's going to be available for Christmas next year. But no, didn't reveal that. And, look, the timing, I mean, the way that their reputation has just fallen at such a rapid pace over the past year. I mean, it is funny timing. Right.
Well, that's why that's why they decided. Which, if I'm right about this, it would show that his publishers and marketing people are astute about what's going on in left politics beyond what you might anticipate, because it almost looks like they decided, yeah, our audience for this at this point are the people who buy the Michelle Obama biography.
Right.
That's all right. We're not getting the leftists anymore. They've turned on these people. Which, look, when was the last time you saw one of your lib friends complain about AOC? That tells you all you need to know. I actually had one of the biggest fucking libs that still tortures themselves by being in my social media ecosystem come out of the woodwork to contradict my sunscreen coverage.
Oh, yeah.
And this was someone who hated AOC back then, because of AOC, if you remember, AOC was a rebuke to all the people who called us sexist for not supporting Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if we're so sexist, why are we all getting behind a woman? Right? If we hate women so much, like, look at who all of our new leaders are. They're all people of color and women, usually women people of color. It was never about that. Right. So to have these kinds of people now love AOC, and they do. When I talk to the libs,
of course, she's a big hit now.
She's a big hit. So are all of them. They love them, right? Because it makes them feel validated. Hey, the progressives are with us. They're on board. They're the next generation. You say that whole central myth of Democrats that we're moving towards this utopian progressive future, but it's incrementalism that's going to get us there. And now they understand that, and they're with us.
Right.
They love that shit. They love that.
And they get better treatment now on MSNBC than even a lot of the moderates. The moderates used to get good treatments, up to and during and after the 2020 campaign. But, now that you're starting to see Kristen Sinema, Dem exit to the right, and then Joe Manchin chirp about a no labels run, you actually see like these hosts like Joe Scarborough praise the Squad for the discipline they've showed. The progressives have shown such incredible discipline, meaning they have fallen in line, whereas now the right flank of the party, the Manchins and the Sinema, they're causing problems, right? So now they're on MSNBC's shit list, and the Squad get great treatment. Well, you have not seen a hostile interview with any of them in years. It's been years.
It fits their narrative. It makes their myth complete. They love this. There's nothing they like better than a convert. So exactly. It's the way the emperors used to love to parade the German captains of the legions, right?
Please clap.